continue on if I understood your comments correctly.
Yes, sir. I want to go back to the 335, 336. I heard Cassandra say she had grave concerns there. I would like to, if we could possibly put our heads together and find monies, um, uh, reinstate what the budget request is from there, increase it roughly. And I've just got rough figures, roughly 20,000 on 335 and 25,000 on on three. Let's see, 336. Yes, I wanted to make sure. So uh, if we can put our heads together and find monies, then I'll put it in motion. But
Okay, I get what you want. We'll work on it.
yes, sir.
Commissioner Davis.
Cassandra, in 336, when it says repair of equipment, since that excludes vehicles, what type of equipment are you repairing with that money? And, I mean, obviously, we know that parts and other things have gone up because of inflation, but why have we gone from 2 years ago, the actual being 56 to requesting 125?
So that's just equipment. So we house inmate things that they tear up, toilets, sinks, um, just things like that. HVAC units, washers, dryers, kitchen equipment. So you have all of the equipment that's in the building that we.
Okay, doke. Um, back to that. So, Commissioner Raper, we're just open floor here. As we talked about when we were on the county commission account, I think we can say with confidence that that medical is going to go down. We're all friends and family here, so I mean, Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Mason are paid out of their medicals paid out of the sheriff's budget. They're not going to obviously be paid out of here, and I believe Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Lake Collins, is going to be paid out of the school budget, 141, right, on the state insurance plan. So there's three we know.
Four I rejected.
Right. I mean, as the mayor said, and I agree, I'm not trying to contradict but I think we can say with some confidence that if we take the 122, and this is what we get into, Mayor, every year is just down to the thousands. So just just bear with me.
Make sure you understand though, Marlon, if you want to go back to your insurance line and you cut it, that you could do that now. If you're sure of these four, then take the 32,000 out and lower it and move it
Let's
to
do
where.
that, because I mean,
I couldn't really recommend in my proposal doing that because
okay.
I really don't know.
I was trying to. I mean, your concern is that this is a future kind of thing, but let's do that. And in all sake of Commissioner Raper, I'm gonna ask you to hold that for a second because
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna come back to the commission line and do just that. I know I don't take it as well. Well, actually, I say, and I look through all the others, and we just don't know. I mean, we'll know we know, trying to think, new commissioner, Mr. Beatty, and all that. We just don't know, but we do know those four. And one second. So if we take 8, 4. I'm sorry. Just give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. There you go. That's 1, 2, 2. So those four will represent. I did it wrong. Huh? 8, 140 times 4 employees is 32,000. So basically 32,000, call it 33 to round up a little bit. So there's 33,000 right there that we can take out of ours. So I guess I have to hand the meeting over to you, or if somebody else wants to. I mean, yeah, just do this right. Mayor, I'll hand the meeting over to you so I can make the motion.
Okay, do I have a motion to move the 32? You want to get the exact number?
Yeah, I'll make the
Colin?
I'll make the motion in account 51100, line 207, instead of 122, comma 100, it will be 89840. I'll put that in a form of motion.
Do I have a second?
We have a second. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm used to doing that, Mayor.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
But you had a question?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
We're gonna take out whole 32 and put it where?
You're just
Yeah,
moving it
we're-
out
right
right
now
I
now.
we're
know,
just-
we're moving it out.
I'm finding money for Commissioner Raper right now.
Yeah, this motion's just taking it out, Louis, and then you'll
Okay.
have a motion of where you're gonna put it, I guess.
I guess my question there would be, why don't we leave 5 there for the change we made up there at 103? To cover that.
Right now, we're reducing, that's gonna be a part of that increase as well.
Okay.
But we're gonna reduce, and I suspect there's gonna be more. Those are like 99.9% confidence that those are going to, or be reduced. The mayor put in 15, the 14 of us, and, what's her name? Lori.
So the motion is to move 32,560 out of that line 10207, making it 89,840.
Thank you, Mayor. Yep. And
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed likewise?
All right,
Okay.
so put that in there. All right, so there is some of your money there, Commissioner Raper,
Yes,
and
sir.
obviously with the other increase for the assistant as well.
Now talking roughly 12.5.
12.5
Yes,
and,
sir.
right. All right, so one of the things that I was looking at, we're gonna be jumping around quite a bit, so hang on. So just hold that thought, Commissioner Raper, because this is gonna
Yes,
be,
sir.
this is gonna be a broad discussion here. Mayor, we're done with that motion. I think it's, if we'll go to page 142. We're gonna jump over to 189, because I think there's some opportunities there. Again, we're just gonna pause that conversation for a second. Commissioner Raper, we're not forgetting you or the rest of the, general fund accounts.
Yes, sir.
But, I'll start off by saying this. We looked at well, we didn't look at this at the beginning. This is one of the funds we're gonna dive in a little bit more. The mayor's proposal has some items in here that, has been requested, and he went over those the other night. The sheriff will continue to get 100,000. I think we're on our 3rd year of this, and he's been purchasing vehicles on that. I think they PO'd some of that, if I remember correctly. The other thing was the parking lot, the paving. That was 790. Other capital park paving lot. So I guess, Mayor, what parking lot is this the
The one,
Urbane Road? I forget.
no, the one that we're purchasing, you requested to put money in there to pave it.
I forgot.
The annex lot.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking park, like baseball
Parking
park. I
lot.
got baseball in my mind, sorry. All right.
Yeah, you've got a line down there purchasing it, and then there's money there to fix it then.
All right, so you're 100,000 there. And then the 58 is going to purchase it, the farmer's market of 15. And then the 25. Those are all the mayor's proposal per the request that came in earlier this year. I think it's safe to say, Mayor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the lower amounts that we've budgeted at 189 in the last couple of years, and mainly because we've been doing, and you can see the previous projects and stuff, Lake Forest, and not Lake Forest, but the elementary school, North Lee and Black Fox and those kind of things. So it's a little bit lower than normal.
And last year it was the, big thing was the EMS equipment.
The EMS equipment, and we're gonna purchase more EMS equipment with the ARP money. And then you see the fund balance would now turn back over to page 142. It has a very healthy fund balance relative. And then you see the expenses right there, less expenses of 463 for a fund balance of 32,43,907. So this is the time, as the mayor always says, this is the time, if we're going to do anything from a fund to fund kind of thing, this is the time to do it. This is the meeting to do it. It'll be, the mayor's kind of already done it with the general fund and the roads department is, pennies being moved from one fund to that fund. I recommend, that fund balance is very healthy. We're able to fund the projects that that the mayor is proposing. We know that the penny is worth about 300,000. We don't need 300,000 for what you're trying to do, and we can split a penny down to the fourth digit if you need. But that's what my recommendation is, to move. I think I calculated, but Mayor and Renee can help me with this. The amount of money that the 12,000 plus any others, we can move a fraction of a penny from the 189 over to the general fund and put that in the revenue, so that we stick to our fund balance percentage. And I don't think we hurt 189 at all. You may not disagree. I don't know. We hadn't talked about it, but I think that's a very healthy fund balance, and it doesn't keep us from doing projects in the future. Plus, we've talked about this before, as much as possible use ARP money once we get all of it in August, looking at doing one-time projects out of it before we use 189. So I think we can do this safely. I don't think it hurts us, and it'll fund stuff like what Commissioner Raper wants to do. That's my idea that I propose to everybody today. Thoughts?
Can I just
Please.
comment while you're thinking? And I don't have a problem with the idea at all.
Okay.
I would suggest you finish the general fund and total up what changes that three people want.
Yeah, they
we'll
were worried where we're gonna get the money, and I just
Yeah,
that's
and
why
then-
I should have
then
started
if-
with that maybe, but I didn't
Right.
know where they wanted to go.
Finish that with total it. I'm just thinking from our perspective in making the changes. Let's total up your proposed changes, and then we'll go good it that way. But I do want to put one caveat in there. He's absolutely right in what he's talking about with the fund balance here. But keep in mind that is our plan for the next. I'm looking at Eric, and she won't look up. That is our plan for the next Black Fox instead of a tax increase. So as that builds, it's not going anywhere. Granted, you can do exactly what he's saying, but I just want you all to know, and the new ones especially, that is where we should be building for that next Black Fox request. Next time we find some kids in a closet somewhere, where we have the money to take care of it without raising taxes.
I agree 100%. That's why I didn't say this, but there would obviously be a cap on how much we would move
Yeah,
over. Right now, we're talking 12,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
But I agree with
That's
you.
fine.
Let's finish up the general fund and get a total amount, and see if it's reasonable. I mean, we are purposely done just what we did, but it's budgets are about priorities, right? And if we see that that's where we want to do, and the sheriff wants that, and there's enough votes, and that's the direction we go. Like I said, the whole reason why I did have the finance committee to talk about the ratio is it's going to impact, some of these things as well. Anyway,
and one
so
other
let's
thing, well, I think of Marlon, because I don't think I've shared this. My thought process, I didn't go ahead and budget the next phase of the roof. Steve may have noticed that. We've done 2 phases. Phase 3 was supposed to be this year, and I haven't put it here because of what I explained to you about bidding, but this is where we would go back to if come spring, things were looking a heck of a lot better. We still need to go ahead with phase 3, and this is where that would be too. So don't forget that when you're looking at the 189.
Yeah.
The potential roof issue this year and or next year, and then future expansion projects.
Understand. And again, it's about priorities. Can we wait a couple of years to have a nice parking lot behind there or not?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't park over there, so I mean, anyway. We're gonna go back to the general fund. I just wanted to go over here to 189 because you asked the question of where we potentially could have, dollars to move over. Like I said, this is the time to do it because they'll reflect the penny change in the resolutions, when we vote on the budget. Commissioner Davis, you recognize?
Thank you. Since we're going back to the general fund and the Justice Center budget, I'm just guessing here that the money that we moved over, the 32,560, that we will just divide it equally among the two lines that we're talking about. So I wanted to ask Sheriff Lawson and Cassandra. Let's see, the mayor's proposal was 80,000, and if we add 16,280, that brings you to 96,280. And then for the next one, the 100,000, if we added 16,280, that brings you to 116, and you requested 125. Do we need to search for the additional 12, or do you feel more comfortable with those lines with just that 32,000 in there?
Let me, before you answer, we're gonna find those. I believe Commissioner Raper's, I don't mean to speak for you, Commissioner Raper, you can obviously do that for yourself, was to fund those according to the request that they submitted. And the funds are gonna be paid for when we add up, as the mayor just, advised, once we add up all the lines throughout all of the accounts in the general fund. Let's say example here, it's 80,000, because there's other accounts that we're going to talk about. Then we'll move 80,000, 300,000. That'll be about a 0.3 of a penny over from 189 to 101 in the resolution.
Yeah, understood. I was just asking, I know that there's going to be additional requests. I just was asking if we only moved the 32,000 over there, were they comfortable with just that, or were they needing
think
the
they care.
additional 12?
Where we get the money, I don't think you care, right?
No, but I am more comfortable with those.
Sure.
So we could use the additional money somewhere else.
Yeah, we on one side, we reduced the general fund by a whopping 32,000. He increased it by 45,000. So that difference between the two will move over from 189 as of right now. I mean, we got Commissioner Raper. I don't know if we have your motion or not. We wanted to do some mathematics first. Now I think you're welcome to make your motion to what you wanted to do. We're on line 335. I'm sorry, Commissioner Alford, page 43. So that'll make it a total of 100. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Raper. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. There you go, Commissioner Raper. Next. We were on 335. Now we're on 336. I know it's hard to read. You need to get one of those rulers. I have a motion from Commissioner Raper to make the, on account 5, can't see the account, 54210, line 336, 125,000. I have a motion from Commissioner Raper. Do I have a second? Do I have a second from Commissioner Cry? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Anything else, Commissioner Raper? Thank you. All right. I think that concludes, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, page 43. All right, moving on. We still got, I promised I'll get you out of here by 5. All right. Workhouse. Anything on the workhouse that needs to be changed? Seeing none. Moving on. Page 45. Juvenile Detention Center. Anything needs to be changed on there? Looking both sides, checking twice, nothing. Juvenile Grant Program, bug. That's a grant, obviously, 'cause it says it's a grant. Southeast Tennessee Community Corrections, it's a grant as well. EMA. Anything on EMA, on page 48. The interesting thing I think maybe here is, as we talked about in the Finance Committee on Monday, he moved some money around in the current budget for a new vehicle, so that I forgot to look and see if he had anything in here in this budget, and he doesn't, so he's getting his vehicle. All right, anything on page 48? Looking both ways, seeing none. Moving on, Homeland Security on page 49. That's also, nothing there. Page 50, Inspection and Regulation. You actually, okay, I see what you did. All right. Anything on that one? Seeing nothing, moving on. Medical Examiner. I had one note there. Yeah, it's not worth talking about, but the gasoline mayor, you've already explained what you're doing with all these. All right, anything else? She only has that one vehicle, right?
Yes, she's one of those not asking for an increase, but it's one vehicle.
But
so
we'll
she has
watch
a-
it, yeah.
She has a little more control.
Seeing nothing, moving on, page 52, Juvenile Services Grant, moving on, page 53, 911 Center, we're under contract. I have forgotten when that contract's up, but I'm sure you'll let us know.
Next, from memory, it's next budget year that will be an issue.
All right. And that is one that we split the cost with the city, so when some of our constituents say we need to get along with the city, and we had some ribbon cuttings not too long ago about how the cooperation between the city and the county is so wonderful, I always remind them we had to do a fairly good job with 911. Had to put my political plug in there. All right, local health center. Do you have anything on there? Looking both ways, Mayor Davis.
I want to point out that last figure down there, that 75,000, that's
I'm
what,
sorry, what page are you on?
54.
Okay, I just want.
The local health, that's the money they got to do the awning. It's not been spent yet. It's not in the budget request or proposal, but they will be coming back to you saying we didn't spend this 75,000. We need to amend it in so we can spend it. So make note of that. It's money that came to us last year that has not been spent, but it's not a budget request. It's there, and so we'll amend it out of fund balance at some point.
Oh, what?
You get a
okay.
lot of those at the first of the budget year,
Yeah,
or
I
several
know,
of them.
but
But there's where it's taken
But-
out, and it'll be done as an amendment.
so I guess my question would be, if they're going to do it, why not budget?
Because it's really not a request, it's not, they're gonna do it, but if it was money coming in and I could put it in revenue and expenses too, I would. But again, I'm trying to get rid of expenses because not even new money coming in. It's already there. It's already in my fund balance, so it makes more sense just take it out of the fund balance. You can do it either way,
Well, I mean,
but-
it's gonna be taken out of fund balance when they amend it out.
but it's not in my fund, not taken out of my
Okay, all
proposed
right.
fund balance. But you can do it either way. I'm not
I'm
arguing
just
with
saying,
you.
if you know you're gonna do something, budget. Anything else? I mean, I'm not gonna change it, but I mean, I remember she came and she told us what, that was a while back too. I mean,
Oh, yeah. If you look at last year's budget, it was $100,000 budgeted, only 11 spent. So
moving on. SPCA, that's under contracts, moving on.
It's up next year, I believe, too. and so-
Isn't, Commissioner Howard can be on that committee. All right. EMS. We'll put him on the negotiating committee, right? Just kidding. Just having fun. I'm sure he's watching. Yeah. Yeah. That might be the only thing he has over there right now. I'm just kidding. Come on. Yeah. EMS. Anything that we need to change in there? This represents also your increase, Mayor, 6.5, I believe.
Yeah, point out, it does have the 6.5 for paramedics and EMTs. Go down to the bottom, make yourself a note, the 175 ambulance, which is now 195, is in the ARP. The 50,000 is for Dooley Street interior. It's just an estimate at this point. And the 5,000 was taken out, 4 of it was taken out because we have already replaced those computers recently.
Yeah, Adam, those are the ones that they just had to have right then and there, right?
Needed them now, so we
Yeah.
were able to work that out.
So they're able to work with that billing system better, in theory, right?
Mhm.
All right. Mayor, I know, after what you have already ordered and already budgeted, what is the future with respects to equipment in EMS? Because, okay, so you're gonna buy another ambulance. You have some already on order. I mean, the one that is in the ARP money hadn't even been ordered yet, if I understood you the other night. You got one on order that you're waiting on.
We've got,
In other words, at the end of the day, whether it's 1 or 2 years from now, how many ambulances do you anticipate us having?
now you're asking total, and I don't know that, but I can answer on the
But
new
there-
ones. You've got a new one in this current budget that
Right.
is on order, maybe July. You've got a van in this existing budget that they don't know when it'll get on the assembly line. You have an ambulance that's been totaled that we will get money for. By the way, when you get money for a ambulance or a police car, it goes in the line that you all increased a while ago to make that line look a lot bigger, when a lot of times it's just a balance on fixing a wrecked vehicle, not really maintenance. That's one of the reasons that line jumps from year to year. But anyway, you've got 2 more on order now. I can't know the ARP money's not ordered because you can't order it until you budget it. But even when we order it, it's probably a year out. And then when we get the money on the totaled vehicle, we'll order one. But so we'll have a potential of 4 on order waiting on them here before long. Although I think we'll get one of them fairly soon. It's a mess right now. That's
Right.
just on trucks.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
when everything that has been ordered or going to be ordered as of June 9th today and repaired or insurance, how many ambulances will we have? And I only ask because this comes up as you're, meeting
I
people.
know.
so
I
just-
don't know offhand. Do you, Adam? I don't.
Cause I've said, I thought our fleet was, I
Yeah.
thought we had 9 in our fleet and
It's somewhere around that number,
What-
but
what,
I'd be
14.
14.
So when all's said and done, we'll have 14 and 1 convalescent.
Well,
The van,
now when
I
we
wanna
get when we get the big box, they replace. Keep in mind that's not adding to fleet. Now the van is adding,
yeah.
and we'll have 2 of those when the second one comes in. There's one out there now.
If you need,
But
I-
I'm afraid that I don't want to be quoted, but it's somewhere around what he said with 14.
14.
And that doesn't mean there's 14 on the street. If the answer is 14, that means there's probably 13 on the street with a backup. Like when we wrecked that one, we had a backup that moved into its place. You say, well, why do you have a backup? A backup's not necessarily fully loaded with the equipment, the medicine and all that. You can't put the drugs on a back, and then when it becomes active, then you load it with the drugs and so forth. I'm not saying the right terminology here, but maybe you understand what I'm saying. But yeah, somewhere around that number total, and the backlog on the orders, I'm
Yeah,
frustrated as everybody on that.
I understand they're They could be here in Christmas of 27, who knows?
And
But-
there's been some talk on the street of buying used ones. I personally don't want to start buying used ambulances. We may have to down the road, I don't know, but
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 the num-
anyway,
the-
the new ones is working great if they
Yeah.
just get them here.
the number of vehicles in our fleet for our population, when we get everything ordered and everything delivered, is adequate.
Yeah, it is for two reasons. I
mean-
think it's adequate, period, but Sean would answer you this way. It's more than adequate for staffing. See,
Well,
staffing's what determine, in this day and time with the issues that we have, staffing is what determines the number of ambulances.
Okay.
It's not the vehicles.
Mr. Chair.
One second. The reason why I ask is, I'm sure you heard it too. We just came up. Is do we have enough ambulances for 108,000 people in Bradley County? And I was like, well, there's, like you just explained in the last 5 minutes, there's all kinds of things going. There's some on order and all that kind of stuff. But at some point in time, we will have everything operational, the personnel to operate them, and we will have enough for 108,000 people. In other words,
We're in good shape
this
with
commissioner
trucks.
in your office is over the last 4 years have been funding equipment, wheels on the street for EMS.
It's true.
that's what
The
we-
issue is staffing to get them. There may be an ambulance sitting in the back parking lot that could be on the street that's not staffed.
Okay.
And so that's where the issue is.
I didn't mean to belong the
but-
point, but it's
Yep.
anyway. Commissioner Raper.
Yeah, I just wanted to expand on the point that the mayor was just making. It doesn't matter if you got 50 vehicles, if you don't have the personnel to operate them.
I get that. I mean, yeah.
And we still got a problem there. I know we're doing incentives. I know Cleveland State's doing scholarships, but and I don't know what the answer is, but we have a problem.
Right.
And may I ask Mayor one more question?
Please, you have the floor.
This is just pertaining to fire since we're talking about equipment, but we've been trying to go to a higher chassis with the internationals on the ambulances. Is there something like that on fire trucks, Mayor, that is a higher grade that, or are they all pretty much reasonably the same? Or
Well,
do you even know?
I don't know the answer to your question, but the last 1, 2, 3, 4 engines that we got are very similar, and that size engine seems to be working good as opposed to the different size from years ago. So I don't know that there's been a request to change anything there. Now, last year and this year, what we're looking at is an entirely different vehicle with the ladder truck. Once the ladder truck is bought and paid for and in use, then we'll go back to replacing engines. But as of right now, I've not heard any talk about changing any. They seem to be working well. The newest one would be the one at Station 10, but 11, 12, and 13 are all very similar, and we seem to be okay. Now, I don't know what an individual fireman might tell you. I haven't heard anything different, though.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, so we're EMS, and I appreciate you elaborating on that, Mayor. It is something, I'm sure you've got it as well. I'm be surprised if you didn't. Moving on, page 57, alcohol drug program, juvenile drug court. There's nothing there. Moving on to health services, state. This is a grant. Moving on to general health assistance. There's nothing there. That's been zeroed out. Local welfare services, contracts, 104,008. I was trying to, Mayor, I forget this one.
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, 60.
60 is Vocational Training Center?
Yeah, that's right. No.
Yep.
I'm going brain dead. All right.
That's the one you just approved the lease last meeting.
Other ways disposal, there's nothing there. We'll do the recognize the revenue and expenses when it comes in. Car seat grant. Come on, Paige. All right. Page 63, adult life bridges, 4,000. Anybody have on that one? Commissioner Cry.
This, I love life. God knows what we would do without them. They requested 10,000. I had Lori send a email over asking for the cost of their 12-member board of directors trip to the resort down in South Alabama, across from across from Mobile Bay. It's a pretty fancy place. They refused to answer the email. Someone told me in the neighborhood of 25,000, but got no response. And then they removed their request, and now I see that we're giving them $4,000. Has there been a change since they removed their request?
Oh, if that question's of me, no, from my perspective, they didn't come in and justify the increase to 10,000, so therefore they didn't get 10,000. But being a wonderful program in our community, I wanted to continue to be able to say that we're a partner with them. It does help with the state and other agencies to show that local government participates. So that's just a token amount that's in there that I'm saying we really ought to continue with. But
I guess they requested the removal of the 10, which I understand your position that it's not a big amount, but they get all their funding from the state of Tennessee, and then they go down to South Alabama and spend it. I'm sure that Pigeon Forge, Grand Ole Opry, or whatever it is up in Nashville, or someplace in West Tennessee or State Park could have enjoyed the state money coming back to the state. That was my whole point. But 4,000, I have no problem. It's like a piece of sand on the ocean. Insignificant to their budget. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Cry. Moving on to page 64, senior citizen assistance, 114,000. Anybody on page 14 want to make anything? Seeing none.
now 64, I'm going to point out,
Mayor?
I didn't propose an increase here, folks. In addition to this budget, you all have approved $100,000 of ARP money, and I think that's pretty good for this year. I just wanted you to know my thinking on that one. They're a good program. I have nothing against them at all, but I didn't in addition to the 100,000 that we just approved, I didn't add any more to it.
Yeah. And I looked at we'll see it here when we get to the ARP. They haven't even really started on that.
No, it'll be a while before
And
they
the
use
city's
theirs.
got to do their part, so very good. Page 65, recreation tournaments. Anybody have anything on that they wish to change? Seeing none. Moving on to page 66. This is basically Parks and Rec. Anybody on there?
I did pull the lights out of that and put it in 189.
Mayor pulled it out and put it in 189. We're going to be talking about lights, I assume, later. Anybody on page 66? Looking both ways, seeing nothing. Page 67, ag. Anybody on there? Anything? Looking both ways. Commissioner Alford, you're recognized.
If we're on ag, obviously they're eventually gonna move to the Pie Center, right?
They are moved.
Yeah.
They're there.
They have moved, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any, it's probably not necessarily the subject right now, but do we have any plans to do anything like building other than archives?
Yeah, the other day you all approved an amendment to give me money to do more shelving. Now that they are out, we weren't really ready to move forward, but one elected official's been demanding space. So they were told they could use two rooms to just box it up while we get these shelvings built. We're going to put shelving in rooms as needed, and we have a layout then where that so-and-so will be assigned for different rooms. It's not staffed or anything, and they all know that what's down there they have to take care of themselves. But when we get the shelving in and get it installed, there's two rooms that will be assigned to circuit court clerk, and then we'll go from there.
Are those the ones downstairs?
Yeah, I'm talking about downstairs. Upstairs is pretty much taken care of.
We probably could add a lot of space if we took out some old petitions they put
And
in
we're
there.
doing that. That's a Mike Hughes question, but those temporary walls that you're referring to, we are, like I said, two rooms for circuit court clerk. On my layout, it shows two rooms, but it's actually one room with that once that petition is out. So yeah, and then when we're through with that, when we got the shelving in and their stuff in place, then that room gets locked. They get the key to it, and it's up. You see what I'm saying? And then we'll move to the next room as requested. Although the only request we've had recently has been her. Clerk and master's being taken care of in the stage area. The sheriff's being taken care of up there. Who else is up there? Seems like somebody else is. But anyway, we'll be in good shape once we get circuit court clerk taken. And she's actually got stuff down there. We just don't have it. We didn't have it prepared before she brought it because they hadn't moved out.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Oliver, Mayor. That's the action on page 67. Moving on, soil conservation, page 68. Anybody have anything on there? Seeing none. Moving on, page 69, stormwater. Anybody have anything on stormwater? Seeing none. Do you have anything?
I will point out that is where we moved the 29.6 to the road department from here.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's less.
Let me put that on there.
You make a note that
29.6.
that 2,000
And
used to
they-
be 31.
And they'll park it over in their lines. Okay.
And I've already put it in the road department's line.
Oh,
so.
okay. Roads. All right. Next page, page 70, hotel motel. This is going to tourism over there at the chamber, Melissa Woody, I believe. All right, so that is based off of the percentage of the hotel motel tax. So it's basically they get what comes in according to the private act.
This part is the budget, how we're able to write the checks. It's a projection, but whatever actually comes in actually goes to them based on the percentage.
Right.
This is where it goes
And
from.
hotel motel, I'll just FYI, has been looking pretty good, and I know some hotels are coming online. So
If the gas don't kill it, it's been doing
exactly,
better.
you make an excellent point. Next page, 71 is IDB. I'm sorry, same concept. Their percentage of the total economic development. That's Greenway. Next page, 73. Is this the buses that drive around town?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
local portion.
42,000. Veterans Office across the hall. I was chatting with him the other day. Didn't make any notes. I didn't see anything. So I will. Commissioner Slater's not here. When we were up in Nashville, the Veterans Department's got a lot of conversation about counties that don't even have an officer who helps veterans, and I guess a lot of counties are partnering up with each other. I think Anderson County, stuff like that. So all that to say, we're blessed to have a Veterans Department helping veterans in the area here, because as Commissioner Slater will tell you, we were sitting there, a lot of counties don't have this office. So
They don't. And to go back in history, it used to be one person in the basement, in the dungeon, honestly. Now it's 3 people in a very nice office suite. And you're talking about other counties. If you read the reports you get monthly, or I think it goes to Lori,
we get it.
you get it. We do other counties. Not that we advertise to do other counties, but they don't all have their own service officers, or it might be more convenient to drive through Bradley. And it's all about serving the veterans. So, yeah, that's one of the things we don't probably think of often, to realize how far it's come in recent years.
Well, I guess what I was just saying is it was a wake up call, so to speak, for me and Cindy as well, that there's so many counties that don't. All right, moving on. I don't want to belabor it. Page 75, other charges. This is trustee. His cut. Of course, we want to fund the trustee office as much as we possibly can, right? Just kidding. All right. Page 76. Here we have some nonprofits: Fort Hill Museum, Tethra Boys and Girls Club. I looked over this the other night, and the only one that I think that is the museum. They requested 25 and 16 on there, but anybody have anything they want to change on this one? Look both ways, seeing none, moving on. And 77 has nothing. 78. This is the money that came in for a couple years ago, right during COVID, and we divvied it out. We did the bridge out there in District 2. We purchased a knuckle boom truck and all that. So since you zeroed that all out, there's nothing in this current, no, in the next budget that you want to spend any money on, it's just a matter of everything that's already been earmarked or, appropriated coming to fruition.
Just getting it all paid. They did away with the program. They felt like we all got enough ARP money, so they no longer funded it. This was the best thing state ever did from our perspective.
And that was, got a lot of conversation up in Nashville as well. There was a big room and everybody was talking about it, and they basically said, and they not gonna do it.
It was great. The ARP is money, but when you start putting projects in ARP, there's a heck of a lot of reporting that has to be done with ARP. This was great. But it's gone.
All right, that concludes the general fund, and I'll just open up on anything, if we need to go back to anything, any of the accounts. I think we might have set a record here, Mayor, I don't know. Please.
That 32,000. Check that. Or just
I'm just gonna just put a new number in there, let the math take care of itself on your summary page, and then whatever the difference is between the two,
We'll take it out
We'll take it.
189.
we'll take it from the tax rate. Thing.
You s-
That's-
you've
Unless
done-
there's a better way, but that's the way.
No, that's fine, as long as we understand what you want. You've moved 49,000 roughly. And so, but to getting
Yeah.
that 32, we only have to worry about moving 17 if you don't do anything else.
And then the question is it really? I mean, you're
I-
right, you're gonna have to go-
You read my mind.
You're
I
gonna have to
mean,
go to like the 5th digit, I think.
I don't want to get superstitious, but if you adjourn this meeting, I'll probably say I'm not fooling with it, Mom. You know what I'm saying? But you're not adjourned
Yeah,
yet.
don't, we may go,
Mm.
you just, in other words, we got a lot more money. to spend. All right, anything, I don't wanna rush this, but anything on the general fund? All right. Law library, I will say this, we've seen the request from the library of they requested, let me go back. I believe they requested from both the county and the city. You guys know that next year is their 100-year anniversary. It opened back in 1923, obviously, do the math. They got a big celebration coming up, and they want to tidy up the buildings and have all kinds of events and stuff like that. The mayor's proposal puts 25,000 in there, and I assume you, based on your conversation the other night, you talked to the city officials. They're willing to match that. But the request we got is to fund what their request is. Right. So why I'm mentioning that is I'm on this committee as well. We don't talk about the law library hardly ever, if we ever have, but you can see that what their annual expenditures are. It's not much. They basically have a computer system, so anybody who wants to go look over at the law library can do their research. We're required to have it by law. It used to be tons and tons of books, I think, and then they moved it to electronic, which I think is a good move, but it's a subscription base. So it's somewhat fixed. There's a cost increase on there, but you can tell that their fund balance is relative to their cost and pretty healthy. So I'm going to ask the law library to pay their fair share because they sit in there in the library. I think at 10,000, and that shouldn't hurt them. They'll be able to continue their subscription. It's a justified. I mean, the law library has to live somewhere, and then they got to pay their fair share, as the saying goes. So that'll add an extra 10,000. It's not coming from quote unquote our budget, but it'll help with that 25,000. But then I guess the question is there anybody who wants to look at that increase in that 25,000? And if not, we move on. Sometimes I move to Commissioner Alford and Commissioner Davis.
Just, ask Mayor Davis a question. We're looking at 36 back actual in 2021. Do you think of any prior budgets that does it always stay about the same, I guess?
You talking about the fund balance?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, usually they spend approximately what they bring in. That's the goal for them. So yeah, that fund balance is going to usually be right around that 30-ish. And we're just talking about law library.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, where his thinking's coming from. Years ago, we incorporated it with the library.
Right.
So it's basically all one thing now with two different funding sources. Used to, it was a separate rented building, but,
Used to be on the corner here, right?
Yeah.
here on Central Avenue.
Yeah.
So you can lower that fund balance.
That's
There's
what
no
I was-
salaries.
Yeah, the point I was gonna make is, do they need that much?
No, they don't need that
look
fund
like they
balance.
ever spend it.
No, they don't.
You don't know, but you can't touch it.
That's the agreement. They just agree to request roughly what's projected to come in, and they do that good. So you could spend one-time money out of that fund balance, lower it. There's no salaries. See what I'm saying? It's all, there's a little bit of office supplies, a little bit of rental, and the rest of that. So unless the revenue really dropped off, I wouldn't spend all the fund balance, but, I think he said 10.
Yeah.
So if you went from 30-something to 20-something, you'd be perfectly fine if you wanted to do that.
Very
Well,
sa-
that was the point I was trying to get to, I guess. I'd rather go close to 15 or 15.
Well, okay, I'll make that, I mean, this is something that I guess that committee has to do, right? Or we can't do it for them.
No, I mean, you can budget it to,
Okay,
you can budget, we would have to probably, on the expense side of law library, add a line. I assume we can put a
yeah,
707
we've
or
never
something.
we've never touched this fund, so I apologize. I've never, I mean, but when I was looking at it, and again, I'm on this, I was being very, very safe. I mean, we're required to have it by law. The subscription, the things you just talked about on the expense side is well covered, I think, like 12,000. They sit on the second floor over there in the corner. So 15, I think we're still safe. That'll put us down to the high teens, whatever. So,
Your motion would be to add to
Yeah.
the account 114,56,500 to add a 799, I assume,
all right,
of $15,000.
let's do that. Commissioner Offer, if you'll make that motion.
I would make that motion to add 15,000 to new line 799.
Yeah, on page 80.
Page 80. So we have a motion from Commissioner Alford for Fund 114. Remember, we're not in general fund anymore. Fund 114, account 56500. Create a new line and put 15,000 in there. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford with that. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Raper. Any further discussion?
And that's gonna make your total expenditures then 28,750 instead of the 13,750 that's in mine.
Mm-hmm. And I will let them know that that 15,000 is for their 100-year.
So in reality, you're budgeting $40,000. They were asking for 50 and 50, 100,000 total. So you're saying we'll go up to 40
I think
and,
they were asking 100 apiece.
They're
okay,
asking.
okay. So you're offering 40 and I don't know if what the city will do on increasing it. I just know they said they were okay with 25 and 25.
All right, and remember how they're funded. I think correct me here, each court document has a dollar fee, and that's what goes towards the law library. So it's
On
not
this budget,
It's
yeah.
not property tax. It's not sales tax. It's something that Gala collects, and you'll see it on the account analysis report or Renee's report where she moves it over into their fund as it comes in, I guess. So it's not property tax. But that helps them with that. But anyway, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I was going to ask another question. I still got the floor.
You still got it?
So they've asked for 98 or 100,
I think-
basically 100,000 from us and 100,000 from the city for all these repairs and things. If we do this, can we also use ARC money for the rest of that project? This is all one-time expenses.
I assume out of that bucket that you approved
That's
For no
700
strings?
That's like $700-something thousand, I think, in the bucket. I think.
Yeah.
we'll go to the 128 fund here in a minute and look at it. Don't mind.
No,
Yeah, is yours on the same thing? Yeah, we'll come to 128 here in a second, because the art money, and you will, because I think I know where you're going. Basically, fill in the gap between what we're willing to do out of our budget I say our budget, the art money is our budget too, but it's a different fund.
Right.
And feeling the difference between the request and what we've already quote unquote budgeted with some art money. Just
Right.
hold that thought for a second, Commissioner
Well,
Davis.
my only other consideration on that would make it a contingency that the city matches.
Oh, absolutely. Commissioner Davis, please.
That's what I was gonna ask, but I was just trying to get, the numbers straight, cause I pulled up the email that we received, and I guess they're asking us for $93,786. And so currently, we have given them 28,750. Did I miss, is that right?
25,000
25 plus 15.
What,
We're giving them 40,000.
25 plus the 15. Okay, sorry, I was just keeping tabs.
Sounds like you're up to 40 is your intention, isn't it?
So 40's done. If we're gonna do the, just saying if 93, we got a little room, a little more to go. Is that what you? All right, so let's go over to Fund 128. I thought we did. Oh, my bad. I apologize. I'll back up. Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Alford, and you have the verbiage. We have a second from Commissioner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Renee. I was just making sure you're paying attention. You passed. All right. Where's? We don't need lunch. We didn't budget lunch. All right, all right. So it doesn't have, I guess it's 96. The page number got cut off there.
We're going to 96.
96.
We
Well,
skipped-
there's no 96, but I looked at the next page and did the math, right?
It's marked in the spot.
Where?
It's in the middle of the.
Oh, it's supposed to be down below at the very bottom.
Okay.
It's on page 96 and 96 is hidden there. So, we've talked about this a gazillion times, but, Mayor, we have the buckets that you refer to. And the accounts that you created, the 58331, they're not necessarily in line with the buckets per se, because that second one is still premium pay. It's just that those were like the nursing home where you just had to cut them a check and they were responsible for their own withdrawals and stuff like that. But all that right there in the amended budget and estimated totals 2021-2022 is kind of what has been expended in this budget year currently. And then, as I see it, in your mayor's budget proposal 2022-2023, you see those numbers, especially, and I'm looking at American Rescue Plan Act grant number 4. Those have already been passed by resolution. The Family Promises, COE Outreach, United Way, Habitat, Caring Fields. When I saw Dustin the other day, City Fields has already submitted to Chuck some invoices in the 50,000 for Caring Place. Anyway, those differences of what was put in resolution and what's been already expended is going to be what you see right there in that column. So that
Yeah,
totals up
well-
936,375, right?
Well, I forgot I hadn't given you an updated correction of this budget. You need these to look at because I started noticing some of those numbers weren't right.
Oh,
They just weren't in the right place is all it was, but if you don't mind, look at these sheets and then at some point incorporate them in your book. So that's a new 95, 96, and 97 is what it is. This was a correction that we noticed. What I explained to you the other night was correct, but this is the correct columns for them to be in, if that makes sense.
okay, you're on page 96?
Page 96, for example, shows the correct amount we will spend this year for Caring Place and City Fields, and then the balance is carried forward. That's when I picked up on I hadn't given you the new sheets. So everything in that middle column on page 96 has or is getting done this year. And then everything in that far right column is what you've approved that is being carried forward to the new budget.
Right.
And then page 97 is the two new items, which is the ambulance and the fire truck. Then you go back to 95 and it tells you you've got 739,000 left to play with.
And that basically is the money that came in already, not the potential.
Right.
And we're not gonna touch it until we get the wire.
We'll mend it when it comes in, please. But yeah,
Right.
you do have
So
739.
basically, Commissioner Croy, I'm sorry, Commissioner Offer is close to the 700,000 that we have for one-time expenditures, no debt, and no recurring. So if we do have some money there, and I think it would fit, I mean, we have Tim, the auditors, when we talk to them, we have up to $10 million, no questions asked. So if we wanted to help the library, I would say this is the place to do it. But that's if we.
Actually, we wouldn't be giving them the 96 or 8, whatever it is, because we've already budgeted, what, 40? So actually, we're looking at 50 something, 53,000 something.
You know, that's an interesting point. I thought, we talked about this, I think we moved money, or we used money from the art money for the annex roof, because the thinking was kind of better to use art money instead of using our property tax money first.
Always.
So, and I'm just throwing this as an idea, I mean, just not, but if we wanted to fund them completely, their request, one way we could do it is to fund it all with here, obviously that's 739 minus 93 or whatever we choose, and leave, well, let me back up. I think the law library, that 15,000 stays there because it's not property tax. But the 25,000 that the mayor has in his proposal for 189, don't use that 25,000. Let that go to zero. You may not even have to move a penny or a fraction of a penny over to the general fund. You'll have to do the math. But then art money, it can fund basically 93,000 minus 15. If we use art money, that's just one idea. But if we want to keep what the mayor, his 25,000 and 189, and then make up the difference with art money, we can do that as well. You see what I'm saying, Mayor? I mean, that 25,000 that's in 189, if we're going to use art money, might as well use it all the way, give that 25,000 back to you, or back to 189, and you don't have to, I think you'll be very close, because we didn't increase the general fund all that much relative to the amount.
Yeah, that 25, you're at 87, and you moved. Yeah, it wouldn't be worth dealing with.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to give the full amount to the library, times have changed. Where's that camera at? Then I would suggest doing it all right here or here plus the law library.
With a contingency.
I hate putting them on the spot, but they were in agreement with the amount we had. You're wanting to increase it. I don't know where they'll be on that, but
Okay, so Mr. Alford, this way you guys knock me in the head. What do you want to do? What do you want to think about it? Commissioner Davis is hungry.
Well, it's about as broad as it is long, the way I look at it, really. I'd soon, as long as they get their money, I'm not really greatly one way or the other. If we can use all the ARC money, it'd be fine. Excuse me, I was just trying to save a little of the ARC money for future, with Quest maybe. Because there's some other things I'm pretty sure that we're gonna look at that we can use that ARC money in.
What's your pleasure? What do you want to do?
I'd go with my original.
Which is,
Pay, the 40, then pay the 50 out of ARC, somewhere in that neighborhood. What was the final Davis. 5378 out of ARC money, the rest out of the other funds. That's just my motion. Now somebody can change it.
Okay, so let me articulate the motion real quick. Commissioner Alford makes a motion to earmark, let me get the accounts right, we're in Fund 128? All right. Oh, you can't use a pre-existing? Okay. I thought it would be fall under 58334 with the rest of these, but that's the affordable housing one. Whatever.
Yeah, this would be a different one.
Really?
We need to keep them separate for reporting, basically.
Okay. And that's kind of the other thing I failed to mention is when you do use art money, then it is on a reimbursement kind of thing, right? I mean, in other words, Chuck, he's a friend of ours, so I'll use his name. Basically make sure that they're doing what they said they would do. They send him the invoices and he pays them back. And he handles the reporting piece of it because the contract with them was all reporting for all art money, right? So there's a layer, I call it protection. In other words, they can't get the $90,000 and go to Tahiti, you know?
That's true, and then part of it will be treated that way, and part of it won't be treated that
that's
way,
why
so it's gonna get
That's why I'm for,
confusing, but
I'm for using all the art money because the 25,000 that gets freed up can be used for those things. It's all, you got different parts, but at the end of the day, it's all there. It's just property tax versus the feds. But, please,
If you don't mind, I'll amend that motion to use all ARC money now that you've explained it that way, looking at that side of it.
all right, and then, yeah.
I'm listening to Mayor, it'd be, paperwork would be quite
lot.
confusing.
a lot harder with that.
All right.
Okay.
So is
So
it
93,000 minus 15.
Is that all right? Second.
Yeah, I'll ask you.
That's all right. Sure.
that be part of your motion? We'll take 25 out of 189, put 77 something in the 128,
78,000.
Huh?
78,000.
even?
Yeah.
78,780.
They got it down that detailed.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, what's the number in your motion, Commissioner Cry? I mean, Alford? 78,786. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. We have a second from Commissioner Cry. Any further discussion? Commissioner Raper, you're recognized.
Is it at this point that we make the motion conditional on the city?
That's a part of his motion, I
That's
believe.
part
Okay.
of the original
Okay.
motion.
All right, thank you.
And once it passes, someone will notify the library that they will see us for 15,000 and they will work through the development district as a grant recipient on the balance to meet all ARP funding requirements,
And,
like your bails.
yeah, and just, I mean, the director of the law library has he's the director, or he's in charge of the law library account as well. So,
Oh, yeah. The law library won't be no issue there.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner Alford. All right, that handles those funds there. We touched on ARP. I believe that is all of the funds, unless somebody wants to go talk to, about, was it landfill? But there's not much to landfill. 116, when you looked at the mayor's proposal. I think
Nothing
we are, just FYI, we are, I saw in your proposal, make sure the 20,000 for the tire abatement project, but still under the guidelines that Commissioner Alford put last year, 10,000, and then they've got to show what they've done with the 10,000 before they get all of it.
Yeah, it was my understanding you wanted that 20 back in there, and you also wanted the software that stopped the smell back in there. And so they're both back in there. And then on the revenue side, like I told the lady the other night, I'm guessing on the donation amount, but I'm splitting it, and I'm just pointing this out to you like I did last year, 200 to the solid waste and the balance to the 189 fund. I'm just unsure what that balance will be because of the situation right
Yeah, I
now.
understand that. I mean, all right,
That's about the only change in that.
right. Yeah, and from what
fund.
I understand, they're not gonna do any more tire over the summer. The next one will be in September. They're afraid of snakes or something. Anyway, all right. So that is all of it. Unless I'm missing something, please somebody correct me. Mayor, do you have anything? Renee, yeah,
I think we've got everything.
on budget 2022-23?
No,
I know I told them, Mayor, that I would keep them to 5 o'clock, so I gotta come up with some more context here.
no, I couldn't have stayed with it anyway.
I'm
I
just
will
kidding.
have updated sheets on these changes,
Yeah, changes only.
just the change sheets. So keep this book that I gave you, and then we'll, for example, we may replace page 57, and I'll give you a new 57 to slide into it, and we'll have those Monday. And that's when, just to bring you, know where we're at, that's when we will send budgets to all departments, which is when the real appeal is supposed to happen the following Monday. Because, see, the only reason there was just two, well, three here today is those other departments haven't gotten their budget yet. So they'll have that week to decide if they have something they need to appeal.
Will we have another meeting of any kind where we discuss looking at this whole budget areas that we could use ARC money instead of taxpayers' money here?
Can I suggest something on that, Louis? And please understand, I love the idea. And with $1 million fire truck, I really don't have a problem. But every little drip that you do this way is very complicated. But if you're going to do it, my suggestion is go ahead and adopt the budget. And then if there's items that you want to pull out and fund with ARP, let's do it as an amendment. Yeah, I think that would be better at this point. We've got a fund see, last year we didn't even have an ARP fund. This year we've got a budget for the first time, and we'll amend stuff like we just did into it. I think would be better. Let's get the budget behind us, maybe get closer. We're going to be doing that anyway when the new money comes in. So if you really want to do that, pick out an item, let's say, well, my thought is later in the year we'll be amending roof replacement money possibly there, since we don't have the state. But I didn't want to do it yet because I didn't want to bid yet. But there'll be lots of those opportunities for discussion. I just suggest we wait and do it as an amendment after the budget's approved. That would at least be one step behind me, because I mean, I'm not whining, but this ARP money is very complicated, right, Susan? And but you know, to do it for $1 million project is justifiable. Do it for a $10,000 project, it's not so justifiable from our perspective. So that, you know, think along those lines. And
project bigger than project.
right, and that's why I stuck those two big ones in there. But you do have the balance to do however you want to, like this.
On that same thought, I know the nursing home has some needs. I was waiting until the money came in August to get past our water, sewer, broadband, all those kind of things, and then see what's left over to do just what you were talking about. Because the nursing home is our asset, and it has some needs as well. Not near as much, but they got some. So I was kind of waiting until fall to do this. All right,
Agreed. And
so
Alright.
Commissioner Alford.
Well, that's good. I understand where the mayor's coming from, but I guess some of these items, excuse me again, ARC money, if they could be, they're gonna be big items, I think, but, if we wait, we can't pull money out of the budget and use ARC money halfway through the year or something. What we're gonna do with that money we take out of say the sheriff's budget. If we pull 300 and something thousand out of there, I'm just using it as an example. Take that and halfway later on after the budget's passed and everything, and we come back and say, yeah, we're gonna spend 300,000 on air conditioning. What's gonna happen to the 300,000 we saved in the sheriff's budget?
Well, there's nothing like that in the sheriff's budget this year. Now, yeah, I know, but the plan on that subject, if we decide to go to phase two on there, we did half of the air conditioners and we do have the other half left. If we decide to do ARP with that, or if we decide to go to phase three on the roof, that's just two biggies. What he didn't point out earlier is a lot of those other things have been done. But those will be amendments that'll just be between us with ARP funding. It won't have anything to do with the sheriff's budget. There's not anything that, I've already taken the cars out. There's not anything in his budget that we could take out. It's just small items. Because they're not in there to start with. He's of the understanding if we decide we have the money for phase three of the roof or phase two of the air conditioners, that we will handle it in this other budget. And then that's what I've told him, and he's okay with that. So it's not a budget issue on the sheriff's. Does that make sense? Well, yeah. If you say right off the bat place you would save money is cars, but that's in the 189, not in the sheriff's. I don't know of any big items that's in anybody's budget that you would save by doing ARP. We'll still have ARP next year, and so my long range is ambulances next year, and possibly the next engine, but that's next year. But most of the rest of the ARP money is already, it's in a bucket. It's already categorized. For example, this 700,000 that's not spent, if TDEC were to come back tomorrow and say you got the so many $1 million broadband grant, with Volunteer Energy, we're committed to match that. So that's where our match would come from. And then the one that you heard so much about for the last 3 months, if that one, once we apply, gets approved, we have is it 25% match on that one, I believe? We don't even have that money to match it yet. That's why I said August, is when that money comes in. So most of the rest of the money is, I guess you would say, obligated, except for the balance of this. And the fire truck and the ambulance is 1.2 million. You approve 2 million. It doesn't have to be answered for, I guess you should say. We do have to answer for it, but we don't have to. We can spend it how we want to, as long as it's one time and meets that. And that's where I see the roof possibility. That's where I see the heat and air units, and possibly even this library coming out of that balance. It's not a bucket out there, but of those buckets, you did approve 2 million. You remember what I'm talking about, Mylon?
Yeah.
2 million that can be spent without any strings.
And that's why I was saying, the nursing
Once
home,
we get past 2 million,
the
nursing home would be in
has an
that.
HVAC out or something.
But we still have to sort of, in our minds, create a number 4, a number 5, and a number 6 so that they stay separated. So anyway, back to your question, I don't know of a budget offhand that has a big item in it that this would help. It's things we've not done yet, other than the cars, and then things that are to come next year. I mean, when I told you about the fire budget, it will begin to be a problem down the road. So if we can do an engine out of ARP funding next year, like we're doing this year, that will be very much needed. We're scheduled to do that every other year anyway. So maybe rather than skipping next year, we go ahead and do it with ARP funding and that kind of thing. Next year, it's going to be needed, I really believe. There may be some one-time equipment purchases that aren't in there this year that it's time for next year. Ambulance, we did $1 million this current year, even though they say on Facebook they don't have updated equipment. $1 million was done. By next year, there'll probably be a decent amount of that is back and due to be replaced. Not that $1 million, but maybe 500 that we didn't replace. So there's going to be. Remember, we got 3 more years to spend this money, and I don't see it helping your current budget. Is where your thinking was at. I really don't. I think we've already done it to help your budget, both the fire and the ambulance, and I don't see it helping anybody. Can you think of anybody's budget that's got a big ticket?
Well, the way I would answer it is that I think it's been more of opportunity savings. It's not so much stuff that you were going to spend X amount of dollars and now you don't have to spend X amount of dollars, but it's stuff that is I would think of it, stuff that you hate to have to spend money on. You don't want to, but you got to, maintenance or what
Like
have
a
you.
roof and an air
Yeah, I mean,
conditioner.
that's not fun. I mean, but you got to do it, and you spend money on that. And you would eventually have to put it in your budget anyway, so it's opportunity savings.
It's more like next year's budget's what I was saying, that it'll be helping, I think.
So, I think not to be too political, we've done a good job with our art money and spending it wisely. I think.
Oh, yeah. And this year's budget is really, truly balanced. It's okay. You haven't messed it up today. Hurry and adjourn. So we're really okay.
Well, I think we're done. I was going to say, if you're finished that, looking to the committee and Chairman Mull, our lunches are here. Do we want to break and eat, or do we want to jump into the true ups and then call it a day and then eat? It's up to you guys. I can do whatever.
Can we go ahead and do the true ups quickly? Because unless you have a lot of questions, they won't take long.
I just want to get them if they were like starving.
I know, but
next thing you know, on Facebook, Commissioner Blake starves committee.
unless you come across something that I'm not expecting,
That's right.
15 minutes will probably do it.
All right, so we're gonna do the true ups. It won't take too long. We've done this before, unless you have a lot of questions. But it's $1 question now. Where's my? And we're getting these for the first time, so Mayor, I just asked for a little minute or two.
Yeah, and while you're looking at them, you look at them as long as you want to. But as you know, there was a power outage yesterday, and it caused a lot of havoc with us too, because it
and
was
me
right.
too. I live in the city. Yeah.
Yeah, I called Mylan, first thing I said, your power's out, right? And he said, yeah. I
I'm
said,
in the dark,
good, I'm
too."
glad yours is out. Because we did not have these done. They were due to you, yesterday afternoon, and they were being worked on, and I think she was able to get a backup power thing in place and was able to finish them, but we didn't email them like we're supposed to. And
Okay, so Renee, just for I know we go over this every year, but just we'll just take the first one as an example. I'm on page 1 of the general fund. All right, so revenue.
Okay.
So account 40110, current property tax. In the first column, you have 11,952,994. The second column is the final budget amendment request that you're submitting now, or 12,286,034 for a difference of $333,040. So in layman's terms, tell us what that is happening.
We budgeted 11. We have gotten. I've So I'm estimating.
So when you see a number there in the third column, that's an increase above what was budgeted. And then when you see brackets, it's a decrease.
Yes, revenue positive.
So you go through all of the revenue accounts and you get to the bottom on page, you guessed it, 2. And overall, our budget, you see what was budgeted, what came in, and she's increasing it by $465,225 for the current budget. All right.
so the fund balance change is what, Mylan?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't hear your question.
To the good.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
So
on that particular budget.
those that didn't come in like we thought were covered by those who came in more than we thought, which is a good thing. Which I didn't mention that we went through fast on the revenue side because we talked about this in a couple of meetings, but the mayor did adjust his revenue projection for EMS patient charges. I know you guys saw that, and I appreciate that, Mayor. All right, so any questions on the revenue for the general fund? Seeing none, All right, we'll move on. We'll take this all in one motion when we get through them. The next page is the expense side. And it's the same concept. When you see a number there and there's no brackets, that means you increased it. And I'm sorry, you're right. Susan's over there like, we're gonna take your accounting degree away.
Positive. The, you, I did have with medical examiners. Only have
And that's what we're gonna chat about here. So what two,
grant.
what two accounts did you have to go to the fund balance to cover their expenditures? Elections,
State funded.
all right, so I forget, what is elections account? It's
First page.
Second from the bottom.
Thank you. All right, so she went over by 16,000. Is that what I'm reading? Okay.
Yeah, you ought to be me, Erica.
Okay.
That's why I'm
I
slow
just
on
read
these
it
ones.
like
Ignore her.
I have a real hard time with it.
No, man. And she's hungry and she's gonna beat somebody up. Just kidding, folks. That whole camera thing. All right, so she's moving that, and then $600 from the other account. You said, which account was that?
it's the 911 voice.
That state budget, that went away.
And it's $600. Okay, so. All right, so the bottom line is at the total expenditures and transfers, $17,095.41. And that basically means that people, what we budgeted, we expended, they did good by 17,000. Even with the two that you had to come from the fund balance.
Bottom of the page. So actually increased fund balance by 400,000.
Okay, so our revenue was a lot higher than we budgeted, and our expenses were lower than we budgeted. So we have an absolute number of 17,004, and that's going to be transferred over to the next budget. Very good.
No, Mylan.
Well, in your fund balance.
You're
beginning balance-
right, except for a couple words in there. $35 million in revenue, and we're off $400,000 to the good.
To the good,
That
yeah.
is great, but that's not a lot. That's good, but it's not a lot. And then the fact that we're only over in basically that one fund by that 17,000 overall is good, even though there was no excuse for that one. But that's overall good news. But
it means that your projections on revenue were fairly good, and people adhere to, for the most part, on their expense sides, which helps the next budget. It inherits those,
that's true.
plus our growth.
That's true, and that's all good, and that's usually the case almost every year.
All right, that's the general fund on the revenue and expenses. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Commissioner Blake. Do we know what happened with the election budget and why she was over? Because, I don't remember her being over in the past years. And then I also don't remember one department going over that amount of money. So do we have an explanation?
Nope.
All right, we're gonna take all these at once. All right, so moving on to Fund 115, is that the next one? All right, and we'll go through these a little bit more quick. Where's my grammar? Autumn's over there trying to write this down. All right. On the revenue side, to the good 17,000 of what so our friends over there should be very happy with their revenue. That fund balance should be increasing over the years like we planned. Very good.
Mhm.
And then on the expense side, I don't see expense, huh?
I don't-
Yeah, they do their own expenses, right, okay.
Well, no, they're having nothing.
Oh, is that, okay, yeah, but when they spend money, it doesn't come out of your budgets per se, cause they have their own,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just make checks to them, so
yeah, and
there's
then
no
they
way.
spend it, yeah. The same thing with law library, all right, any questions on Fund 114 and 115? Mr. Raper, Mr. Alford? All right. Next is 131, roads. Let's look at total revenue is 943,382 with brackets.
More than one. The library.
Solid waste, sheriff's drug fund. $172. 24. Okay. So Tri-State came in more on their revenue. Yeah, and they get part of that, that's right. And then, they've been having some events. I saw like tons of cars out there for something to,
Big
Oh.
horse show this week.
they've
Big.
got some events out there I saw, so good for them. Then 189 is what? I'm Anybody have any questions on all those? I apologize for not remembering the other funds there.
Worry about it later.
Louis? Everybody good with those? You have a question?
No.
Okay, next one is 131 roads. And what I always look for there. Okay, on her revenue, that $943,382 with brackets, so that means that she first page.
Gasoline tax up, state revenues up. State aid program is
Is
different.
1,137,055.
That may be what's carried over into the,
Yeah, and
It-
when I
it's-
talked to her, they're doing some kind of project out there at Chatta Valley
Right.
area.
and that's a
And
state
they
aid
have to
project.
recognize the expense now, but it won't be, or something,
I assume that
That
one
where
will
they-
carry into the new budget.
yeah. Yeah, and the way the state makes them do it is when they sign the contract, they have to recognize or they have to expense it, but it's gonna be really paid out in the next budget.
They'll get butt money next year, so they're lowering their revenue that amount.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, any questions on 131 on the trip? Looking both ways, I see nothing. That's 131. Next is 141. We're gonna spend a lot of time on this one. Just kidding. Just kidding. You've been a trooper by staying here the whole time. Dedication, that's right. Susan, if you have anything that you want to point out on here, but I'm looking at the bottom lines really. Anything that you want to point out? If not, what you guys projected, because we talked about this in the education committee and in the hearing, what you projected in revenue was more, you got more, your actual was more than what you budgeted, and your expenses were lower than what you projected. So good thing. Any questions on 141? Looking both ways. All right, 141. Then we get to 177. We talked about 177 earlier. You see the ESSER money there, and basically, if they go according to their plan, according to their budget, they will basically zero out, and it may be the last time we see 177 for a while, yeah. So, but anything on 177 on the trip? Nothing? All right, so we'll vote on all these amendments into the year budgets. Now, remember, these are in the current budget, not the 22-23 budget, right? These are amending, and this will be the last time we have to amend this budget, right?
Last time we can.
Last time we can, because I thought last year you had some last minute ones that like. Do I have a motion to accept the amendments as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Davis. I have a second from Commissioner Raper. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. So this will be on the agenda for June 20th is right? Yeah. All right.
I do need to say,
You're welcome.
Jamie. Oh, you
Oh, I asked Mr.
Jamie's
Turner.
tax has to be positive fact. Right.
Last year,
At
we
the-
didn't notify you and we got slapped.
How in the world? I asked the director of the County Commission Association what that money was gonna go for, and when I asked him, they were still like, we don't know, it's so new. And I asked Steve Ritter when he was there. 5% of it has to go to those people who have a gambling addiction, and then the rest of it, some of it's gonna go to schools and some, but it's not gonna be treated exactly like sales tax.
In our case,
So we're gonna put it in 189.
what we get has to go in for capital. And so we just put it in 189. If we could have just put it straight there, it makes too much sense. They said, no, you gotta deposit it in general fund, then transfer it to where you want to. So that's why it's coming in the general fund, and then she will write a check to 189. And the reason we're putting in 189, because then we know it's spent on capital, which is what they require it to be spent on.
Yeah. So what I find interesting about that is all that money that's being collected through taxes because people are gambling on, and they're obviously losing. Anyway, if there's nothing else to come before this finance committee on this budget day, nothing? Commissioner Davis? Your last?
Not enough today.
Like I say, I think I saw her
They
by
need to see
12:30.
that.
Nothing? All right.